Drive to Survive, Season 5, Episode 8, Alpha Male, Alpha Tauri, Yuki Tsunoda. Let's get into business. We kick off in Japan way late into the season, of course, because this is a Japanese affair, isn't it? Yuki Tsunoda in his home Grand Prix. Pressure on Yuki Tsunoda. Now, I must admit, I think Netflix were running out of ideas and running out of things to do in this episode because really, I don't think Yuki Tsunoda's position was under that much pressure, really and truly, especially with Pierre Gasly going over to Alpine. They needed to keep their drivers out of Tauri, if anything else. And I think dropping Yuki Tsunoda would have put them in more hot water for next season than at least having some stability, having Yuki who's been there now 2 years. But anyway, it was all about the pressure of Yuki Tsunoda in Formula One. This is a driver who had so much hype coming into Formula One. We were loving him in his first year, but he failed to consistently put in results. We know he's quick. We know he's a wild person. We know that he loves to have a lot of banter as well. But results at the end of the day matter. We learned that they had a good relationship. Yuki and Pierre, they had a good relationship. And I think Yuki Tsunoda was quite sad to see Pierre Gasly leave and having to go to Alpine. He understands the situation. And he even himself said he wants to be in a top car because he knows he can win championships in that top car. They portray Yuki Tsunoda in this kind of persona of sort of fast and wild and wacky and weird and sort of goofy and everything else, or erratic as well. His team radios are one to sort of make you, they always make you think, they always leave you with a comment. There's always something to analyze when it comes to his team radio. He's a very angry person at times as well. And he's known as a diamond in the rough. However, he's no longer a rookie. He's been in Formula One now. He'll be entering his third season, and we really need to see that diamond really shine. The clips that Netflix seems to show whenever he's on team radio, you know, he seems to get annoyed with his engineers because they're telling him to push, and he's like, yes, I am pushing. Stop talking to me when I'm in the braking zone. And I sort of start to feel sorry for him because imagine you're driving 200 miles an hour and all of a sudden you get somebody in your ear saying, you know, telling you to push or telling you to do things. The last thing you want is any distraction when you're driving at 100 to 200 miles an hour. And Yuki Tsunoda already knows the pressures of having to succeed in AlphaTauri and to do well in Formula One and to keep his seat. Now, the other person that they refer to as the alpha male in this episode is Dutchman Formula E champion Nyck De Vries, because he will be replacing Gasly in 2023 and will be going head to head with Yuki Tsunoda. And the real talk is, who is the number one driver in 2023? And if the fact that you're asking that question, it shows you what kind of pressure I guess Yuki Tsunoda is definitely in. And Nyck De Vries doesn't pull any punches either. He's somebody who's very punchy, he's very strong, very confident in himself. He has that humility as well with him, but he's very much, you know, he's a champion, right? So at the end of the day, he's got a bit of confidence about him, and he's coming here to make sure he rubs his stamp in Formula One. He's not here to pull any punches with anybody that crosses his way. Very firm, very assertive as well, but also a likable figure, wears a smile on his face. So it's an interesting character that you got there. Two very interesting combinations. You get like a montage of Nyck De Vries earlier in the season because he joined Williams, remember, because Alex Albon wasn't feeling too well at the Monza Grand Prix, where he scored points, ladies and gentlemen. He got points for Williams. I mean, this is a man who's just jumped into a Formula One seat. He even said points on debut, like happy result. He's got more points than Nicholas Latifi, who was in that Williams for the whole season. So it tells you everything you need to know about Nyck De Vries. And so next year, who will be the bigger man? Who will be the alpha male at AlphaTauri? Will it be Nyck De Vries or will it be Yuki Tsunoda? We have to wait and find out. Then you get this image of Pierre Gasly. He's kind of got this father figure role to Yuki Tsunoda. He's giving him encouragement. He's telling him what he should be doing as a Formula One driver and learning over the race weekends as they go on to become a future world champion maybe. But it was a good heart to heart. It was a good side to show of Pierre Gasly. Very human. I mean, Gasly's loved, right? Let's be very clear. But just to see that, what he was like with Yuki Tsunoda, it was really, really nice. And he always said, look, I always back him at the end of the day. Like, I know Yuki's got it in him. He's got the pace. He just needs to put everything together and put in some consistency. And Yuki will be somebody we talk about for the good long term. We get another clip of him training again with his trainer. He hates training. We know about it. You've been showing us every year, Netflix. We know Yuki Tsunoda hates training. But yeah, it feels like they tried to make a story out of this where there may have not been a story in particular. And I'm starting to wonder, like, are Netflix starting to see that there's no real stories? They need things to fill up the season. We have to wait and see. But nonetheless, it was good to see sort of behind the scenes of AlphaTauri, things that are going on there. It was good to get an impression of Nyck De Vries first off before he's even really racing for the team. And he was sort of happy to say, hey, I made it to season 5. So we're going to see him a lot in season 6, I'm sure, in Formula One. But the way the episode ends, as I say, look, it started off a bit down for Yuki Tsunoda. It ended on a high because he got in the points in Austin at the US Grand Prix. And there were even moments where he had flopped a little few times, but he always recovered. He was overtaking like crazy. Clearly the pressure had got to him in a good way, where he took himself on and had his shoulders broad and went and attacked every single car that he could. So he ended on a high for Yuki Tsunoda, which bodes well for AlphaTauri. And how about Netflix finishing strong there for Yuki Tsunoda, his best race of the 2022 season? On to episode 9.